Okay. All right, can I welcome you all to the Scrutiny Board, Environment, Housing and Communities. This is our September meeting. I am Councillor Barry Anderson and I come from Adelaide Wharfdale and I chair this particular Scrutiny Board, and hopefully you find the agenda stimulating today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through in alphabetical order the councillors who are present today so that you know who is who. So, Councillor Akhtar, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Javed Akhtar, London Woodhouse and City Centre.
Councillor Bentley.
Good morning, Jonathan Bentley, Councillor for Wheatwood.
Councillor Blackburn. Councillor Blackburn doesn't appear to be here at the moment. Councillor Brooks.
Morning, Councillor Kayleigh Brooks, Little London and Woodhouse Ward.
Councillor Collins.
Good morning, Councillor Dawn Collins for Horsforth Ward.
Councillor Gabriel.
Hello, good morning all. Councillor Gabriel, Beeston and Holbeck Ward.
Councillor Graham.
Morning, Councillor Pauline Graham, Crossgates and Winmore Ward.
And I know this is out of order alphabetically, but it's because Councillor Gruen isn't here and it's Councillor Reagan. So, Councillor Reagan, want to introduce yourself? Denise? Oh, she's suddenly gone as well. Must be something I'm saying. In that case, Councillor Harland.
Morning, Councillor Mary Harland, Kivets and Methley Ward.
Councillor Khan. He was there as well a few minutes ago. He is. Councillor Khan. Your video is working, but your sound doesn't appear to be working. We can see you, but not hear you. No. So we'll come back. Councillor Sharp.
Morning, everyone. I'm Nicole Sharp, Councillor for Temple News and Ward.
And Councillor Smith.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Trish Smith, I represent the Pudsey Ward.
Right, now, this is going to be the logistical part. As I look at my screen, I'm going to ask the individual officers who are present to introduce themselves. But it's as the way I'm looking at my screen, so it might come out and you might think, why this one? So, Becky, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Becky Atherton, Principal Scrutiny Officer.
Harvey?
Yeah, Harvey Samby, Head of Operational Delivery, Safe Leeds.
Harriet?
Good morning, everyone. Harriet Spate, Governance Services.
Claire?
Good morning, Anti-Social Behaviour Service Delivery Manager.
Paul?
Good morning, everybody. Paul Money, Chief Officer for Safer Leeds, the Community Safety Partnership.
And for want of a better way of describing it, 20021702.
Yes, good morning all. To the Head of Fleet Services.
Thank you.
Copy.
Becky, can you get that one updated? Thanks. Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Councillor Deborah Cooper. I'm the Executive Board Member for Communities and Deputy Leader of Leeds City Council.
Councillor Rafiq?
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Mohammed Rafiq, Executive Board Member for Environment and Active Lifestyles.
David Longthorpe?
Yeah, morning, everybody. David Longthorpe, Head of Housing Management for Housing Leeds.
Angela Brogden?
Angela Brogden, Principal Scrutiny Advisor as well, Chair.
James?
Good morning, Jen Rogers, Director of Community Environment.
And Sean Corbett?
Sean Corbett, Senior Support Officer for Councillor Rafiq.
Thank you. Right, I think that's it. Debbie? No, I thought she's in the background. Right, now the two councillors that missed out first time round were Councillor Blackburn. Are you there now?
Yes, Chair.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning. I'm Councillor Anne Blackburn and I represent Family and Wortley Ward.
And the last time, Councillor Reagan, do you want to introduce yourself formally, Councillor Reagan? Oh, right. Okay. Well, we obviously have one or two technical difficulties. Councillor Khan, is your sound back again yet?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Good afternoon. Apologies. I don't know what happened there, so I have to leave the meeting and then rejoin again. My name is Councillor Khan, Councillor for Bermondsey and Richmond Hill Ward.
And John Woolmer.
Morning, everybody. I'm just pulling into the depot, so that's why my visual's not on.
Right.
John Woolmer, Acting Chief Officer.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So I will now formally hand over to Harriet for the first few items on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair. So under agenda item number 1, there are no appeals. Under agenda item number 2, there are no exclusions of the public or press today. Under agenda item number 3, there are no late items or supplementary information that I'm aware of. Under agenda item number 4, can I invite members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests in relation to the items on the agenda, please? Okay, I'll take that as none. Thank you. Under agenda item number 5, we have received apologies today from Councillor Gruen, and Councillor Reagan is here as substitute. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Right. Agenda item 5 is agenda item 6, sorry, is the minutes of the 9th of July. Are they a true and accurate record? Yes. Yes, they are a true. Anybody get any matters they want to raise in respect of the minutes? No. Good. Okay. Right. So, as I said, the agenda items, I've switched them around. So the first agenda item is actually agenda item 8, which is the Leeds Antisocial Behaviour Team Review, which we as a scrutiny board looked into some time ago. We made some recommendations. The department implemented those recommendations, and this is a further review to see how progress is going. So I think, Claire, you are leading and explaining now. So for the sake of the public, the members of the Scrutiny Board have read the report, and what we're now doing is inviting the officer just to give us the highlights of the things that they need to be brought to our attention.
Chair, do you mind if I come in? It's Paul Money here. I think I'll lead us through the report, Chair, if that's okay, and then Claire's supporting in terms of any other technical questions that may come as a consequence of the update.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So as you've outlined there, this report outlines the progress that we've made in terms of the implementation of the LASBAT review, and it talks significantly about a fundamental change to the way that LASBAT is working in terms of the development of a triage system, where we are seeking to improve and enhance the way we identify and assess risk and embed the concept of a better understanding of vulnerability in terms of our response to individuals who are experiencing like social behaviour issues, and to try to do that as close as we can at the point of contact. So I'll just take you through the highlights of the report, if I may. Turning to section 3, in terms of the main issues. The issues are detailed there. I'll just highlight some. Firstly, just referring again back to the triage of referrals to for service. We do now implement the triage system for all incoming cases to ensure that they are appropriately prioritised and tasked to the right officers to do the right thing at the right time. The triage actually commenced on the 20th of January 2020. It's made up of 5 triage officers, and we decided to recruit those officers from various backgrounds so that we've got specialist expertise in that particular area. And you can see there's a reference there to an officer with experience of dealing with hate crime because of the link between hate and ASB. The team have also developed a process which is called Thrive, It's a model to assess vulnerability and risk that is in existence and used in West Yorkshire Police. And it has allowed us to provide some consistency in the way that we are assessing that level of risk. It's probably right to say at this point, Chair, that due to some exponential increases in demands, nearly all associated with COVID, we are experiencing some significant pressures in terms of a demand profile that was never anticipated when we did the review. We're obviously anticipating that demand will revert back to something like more normal levels in due course. But there is some pressure in terms of that Thrive system. What I can tell you is that every caller who is seeking service is engaged and is continually updated at that early point. So we have got good arrangements in place, but there is a pressure in terms of demand at this moment in time. In the report, there's some indication as to regards what that demand is actually moved from and is now at. You can see that for yourselves, but one of the ways we've responded to that is to seek some additional staff from the current reallocation pool. So we are trying to meet the demand with increased staffing until we can get demand back to where we'd normally anticipate it. The other significant issue, I suppose, to mention in terms of the review is that what we identified in the review, and what's certainly still the case now, is that in terms of ASB being experienced in Leeds, over 50% of all calls relate to domestic noise. So we have a significant issue around domestic noise that we're also responding to. The triage has proved to be really successful. There's a reference in the report to a particular case where we identified through doing this early triage on the back of what appeared to be a very standard ASB call, that actually what we were dealing with was a significant modern slavery issue involving people trafficking. Because of the way that we did the triage, we were able to engage with our partners and West Yorkshire Police in particular and safeguard a number of people off the back of the triage. There's also other instances where significant vulnerability has been identified that's referred to in the report. Another development off the back of the review that's in process is the development of an ASB MARAC. So for colleagues not familiar, that's essentially a multi-agency risk assessment meeting pulled together very quickly in cases where we think the threat and risk is so high that it warrants that. We have already run some ASB MARACs and they have been successful. So that's another development off the back of the review that is particularly helpful. We are still yet to implement the mediation service that was identified as being required in the review and supported at exec board. One of the issues around that is just issues in terms of some financial constraints and some other ways that we're now looking at developing a mediation service. So we're just going to look to progress that, and we'll keep colleagues updated in terms of how that plays out. We're also doing some significant work that's detailed in the report around developing our out-of-hours noise service. Going back to that, over 50% of the calls relate to noise. We are doing a parallel piece of work now where we're supported by members, sponsored by Councillor Cooper, supported in particular by Councillor Reagan around the Leeds Watch review, where there are some interlinking work between Leeds Watch and LASBAT, and that's particularly associated with our nighttime out of hours noise deployments. So that's also working going as well. Just to wrap up in terms of some of those key headlines, there is reference in the report to an antisocial behaviour strategy. So we revised the strategy at the time we did the review. That strategy has been shared with members of this board already. But we've not formally launched it because, as we were about to, we came under some pressure in terms of PERDA and obviously lockdown as well with COVID. What we have done though is we have shared this strategy with our LASBAT leads, and they are developing tactical plans to essentially turn the strategy into an action plan that's workable on the ground for colleagues. The strategy that's been shared with you before, if you remember, focuses on 5 key themes, and those key themes centre around prevention, intervention, enforcement, community empowerment, and developing a better, more effective integrated intelligence capability. I'm very happy to continually engage in dialogue with members around that strategy, and in particular how we are operationalising it. But as I say, you've already received copies of it on a previous date. I think, Chair, I'll pause there. They are kind of the key headlines from the report. Very happy to take any questions or be referenced to any entry in the report that I've not referred to. That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll go through section 3 and then leave it open. So the first one is the triage of referrals. Any member wanting to ask any question about the triage of referrals? So that's paragraphs 3.1 down to 3.9. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was regards paragraph 3.14.
Yes.
You're saying
That's
that you need more.
That's the next section.
Oh,
It's
right, beg your
paragraphs.
pardon. I'll come back.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if there was any kind of time frame involved in the triage system. Obviously, you know, we get a call or you know, a reference is made. What kind of timescale are we looking at before that actually gets a response and passed on to the triage system, please?
Yeah, there is a service level agreement in place. What I'll do, because each call is, as you might experience, there's significant difference in terms of the nature of calls we're receiving. I'll just refer to Claire just for a current update in terms of where we actually are in terms of timescales, if that's okay.
Hi. So the service standards we currently have in place is it's a 2 working day and a 5 working day, depending on the case. If it is something that is urgent, it's dealt with within that working day. At the moment, as you can appreciate, due to current workloads, we are slightly behind that, but each of those customers is contacted within the 2 working days just to make them aware we've received your case. If there's any urgent issues we need to deal with, we're dealing with it there and then. We're just regularly keeping them up to date, so they're not kind of feeling like they've been left. We did have a small backlog. Each of those customers with that backlog have been contacted, given an up-to-date position of where we are. They've also been given direct contact details of the manager should they feel that they need to contact us urgently if things are escalating. So we're trying to kind of get in there as early as possible to stop anything you know, progressing really.
Councillor Smith, do you want to come back again?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sharp.
Thanks, Chair. Just at 3.7, you say that domestic noise is at 50%. Do you anticipate that will drop? Is it due to lockdown and a lot of people being at home?
There has been a huge increase because of lockdown and people being at home. You know, we're not kind of take that away, and because of the nighttime economy, because that's not open again, there's been an increase due to that. We just expect, well, the current position that we're in with the government guidelines, that will continue. What we're doing is we're trying to create a website, so it's improves the customer journey, so they can log things on our website, and it's a bit like a decision tree, you know, so they can take actions themselves, you know, if they feel confident in speaking to the customer. You know, we're trying to empower customers to be able to do that, but obviously if they're not comfortable with that, we wouldn't expect anybody to do that. But the decision tree on the website is going to be really helpful for the customer's journey, but obviously they're still able to make contact with us ourselves.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to come back again?
No, that's thank you.
That's fine. Anybody get anything else on paragraphs 3.1 to 3.9? If not,
yes,
we will
Chair.
then move on. Yeah, sorry, yes.
I think you may have misheard. I wanted to talk on the 3.14.
Yeah, well, is that not under the section noise?
Yes, but that's not the range you've just given us.
Well, okay, come in on noise, but fine. Come in on noise, that's fine.
Okay, right. No, it's just that the officers mentioned that they didn't have enough existing resources, so it's probably a broader range anyway. And I just wondered whether there was whether they knew whether there was going to be anything additional regarding the budget next year, as we're going to discuss that tomorrow.
Paula, how are you able to assist regarding the budget?
Yeah, I can. I nearly came in on the last one, Claire, but you were quicker to the button than I was. But thank you for doing that nonetheless. I think what we've got at the minute in terms of noise is the proportion of calls that LASBAT are dealing with in terms of the percentage that are related to noise and the percentage that are non-noise related. That hasn't changed significantly. What's changed significantly is simply the volumes. So at this moment in time, what we're looking to do is to kind of respond to what we think is a spike in demand. That's the first thing. So there's been some work doing to secure some additional staffing that's referred to in the report, which could be considered to be temporary at this moment in time. We want to wrap the right level of resource around the issue, quite obviously, but we think what we're dealing with at the moment is a spike, probably COVID related in terms of volume. And what we'll do is we'll continually monitor that volume and ensure that the resourcing is in place. We've been able to do that currently from our redeployment pool, our reallocation pool as it currently stands. We're also, on the back of the Leeds Watch review, developing some improvements to process, and we're looking to, if you like, we've seen some opportunities whereby we can work more effectively with the resources that we've currently got. Now there's some work ongoing over the next few weeks, possibly towards the end of this this calendar year, just to develop those new processes. But we think that's obviously an opportunity that we want to exploit. We'll continue to look at the demand profile, see what happens in relation to the COVID related issues, and kind of respond accordingly. So we're very much keeping a really close weather eye on that situation as it progresses, Councillor Collins.
Okay, so I've got Claire who would like to come in, then Harvey, and then I'll bring Councillor Collins back in again.
Just to follow on from Paul's comments, we are actually doing some work with universities at the moment because the majority of our noise calls do come through areas that are highly populated with students. So we are doing some close partnership work with universities and West Yorkshire Police with regards to providing a more of an enhanced service. And the work is a lot around prevent and deter. So that we're hoping is going to see a slight reduction, but obviously we'll be able to give you more information as time goes on because it is only just starting as of next week.
Okay. Harvey?
Yep, thank you. Just to touch on base on just in terms of what Paul's talked about and what we're trying to do in terms of managing the demand is we're trying to establish a triage service in the out of hours. So Councillor Reagan's aware of that in the sense of our Leeds Watch review. Because we know certainly you're seeing an increase in the reports on an evening. So we hope to ensure that that triage on an evening assesses it similar to the daytime service in the sense of the vulnerability, the risk, what is happening, when it's happening, so that we actually can actually deploy our staff more effectively. So hopefully, as we've talked about the decision tree and the different ways of self-help, but also when it's kind of relevant to talk, sort of ring the local authority and how we then deploy those staff to those problematic areas or repeat calls in particular. So that's basically in train right now. Thank you.
Councillor Collins, do you want to come back in again?
Yes, no, that was all very helpful. Thank you. I just wondered though, do the university actually help with any funding at all? I mean, if students are an issue, I very much appreciate the university working with us on this, but are they actually contributing towards the cost of our schemes?
Yeah, I can maybe answer that, Councillor Collins. We have a partnership group involving representatives from the university. So if you like, a community safety partnership that's focused on student-related issues. Local members in these particular areas of the city are very much aware of this, and there is work ongoing that's been alluded to already there by Claire. We're just in the process of developing a service level agreement whereby we will be able, we hope, to deploy enhanced capability on top of the existing resource we've talked about very soon to assist with some of this issue around demand. And the universities are contributing in a number of different ways. We're still working through the detail of that, but we are very well supported in a number of different ways by the universities. And I'm sure that in terms of any associated costs, they will be willing to bear their fair share of that.
Claire, do you want to clarify anything further, or are you happy with the answer that Mr. Money's just given?
No, yeah, that's fine.
Right. Okay, Councillor Collins, do you want to come back again?
No, thank you, Chair. That was very helpful.
Right, I've got Councillor Brooks, then Councillor Smith. So Councillor Brooks first, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, regarding the increase in noise in the area around LS6, sort of LS3, LS4, as a ward member that represents one of those areas, or like one of those wards, I would like to confirm that the LASBAT service have been working quite closely with us, and I'd like to put on record like our thanks for taking our concerns seriously and acting on them. The universities are cooperating with us and being, you know, like they're doing what they can. I think they're, you know, meeting up with us. We're having one-on-one and wider discussions, both as a service and with ward members as well. So thank you for your concern, Dawn. But yeah, we are on it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. A couple of times through the discussion so far, we've heard that COVID has been a large factor in raising the numbers. We all understand why. We're all stuck in the house a lot more. There isn't the evening activities to go to the pub as freely or as frequently, etc., etc. So I just wondered if there were any plans to carry on for the future. I think, you know, we need to be looking a little bit longer term. I've heard that, you know, we're looking to we're short-staffed. We're looking to get some more resource from the redeployment pool. I mean, how short-term are we looking? Because I do think that this is with us for a little bit longer than we're all anticipating, and I don't want us to be caught out, if you like. So I just wondered if that was considered. Thank you.
Harvey.
Yeah, definitely a good point, in the sense of at the moment we've been discussing with staff, and just to sort of let you know that staff are quite frustrated in not being able to knock on the doors, you know, be with the customers, you know, try to sort of deal with the issues with the perpetrator. So that the pressures are in terms of for staff as well. But certainly we've negotiated with the unions around risk assessments. So staff have now got all the PPE equipment, everything that they need to be able to you know, sort of make that contact with customers. So obviously with the new rules now in terms of the 6+, I mean, we do get reports from our triage where people aren't complying, and at the moment, this moment in time, we have been quite fortunate in the sense of been able to deal with some very difficult problems, particularly through the closure orders that we've undertaken. But certainly going back to staff in terms of sort of rolling out a service, just to reassure you that wherever there is a vulnerability, wherever there is an issue of real concern, and whether a customer wants that interaction, we are sort of doing that in a safe way. And we will continue to do that.
Councillor Smith.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I mean, obviously, the first consideration is clearly keeping our staff safe. Yes. and well. So, you know, you're doing a great job. It's very difficult for everybody. Fully appreciate that. So, you know, thank you for that. But I do, you know, we just do need to be thinking a little bit longer term. Maybe it's not going away.
Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come in on this particular discussion around resources. And first of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our teams actually at dealing with an overwhelming request that they've had to deal with antisocial behaviour during this period of lockdown. Excuse me, I've got a cough, but it's not COVID. I can assure you. And they've been remarkable, I have to say, in dealing with the unprecedented calls that they've received since March. And they have done their utmost to ensure that our residents have been treated quickly, efficiently and in a fair manner. And I think they've done an amazing job. And I just want to say thank you to them all for doing that. Secondly, if I could just make a point about the resources that's been raised by Councillor Collins and by Councillor Smith. Unfortunately, it's a bit late because we are already caught short, as Councillor Smith calls it, by about £118 million. So we have to deal with the resources that we have, and we'll be doing so. And I'm sure Scrutiny will be involved in those conversations. But if you can help plug the gap of £118 million, I'm happy to put more resources into LASBAT.
Mr. Blackburn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. On a different matter, I notice in the report it mentions about the West team moving, and I just wondered why that was and where they're going to move to.
Somebody must be volunteering to answer that.
I'll come in on that one. Thank you. Yeah, we as part of the review, we identified some opportunities to improve partnership work in Councillor Blackburn by seeking to co-locate our LASBAT case officers and our area teams with some key partners. And the key partners that we work really closely with include our colleagues in housing and obviously alongside West Yorkshire Police as well. What we've established is the teams in the south and in the east, they are already co-located in community hub type arrangements that have helped immeasurably in terms of building relationships up and being able to have the kind of informal conversations. Because as you can imagine, the linkages with colleagues in housing, police, etc., are so significant that the opportunity to have those conversations is proving really effective and really drives more efficient ways of working. The team in the West are based in a location that's currently only used by them. And we were looking at the opportunity to improve that effective way of working, particularly in the West, by seeking some co-location opportunities. The council estate arrangements in terms of the assets available to us are obviously being looked at in light of Councillor Cooper's observations around funding gaps. But we are actively looking at opportunities to when we can, in terms of office-based integrated co-located working, where we can locate the West team in a similar way to what we've done to good effect in the East and the South, if that helps.
Councillor Blackburn.
Yes, thank you. Can you tell me where they are at the moment?
Yeah, the teams are predominantly working from home, so they're deploying in much the same way as everybody else in light of public health guidance and obviously regulations. So the team are working from home. The opportunities for the team in the East and the team in the South is that they have drop-in office capability in the settings that I've described, which are the co-located settings. So at this moment in time, that's the arrangement that we've got in place for the team working in the West. We have put in some arrangements in place for them should they require office accommodation, but there's no set location identified in the West yet, other than the base that they were working out of, which, as you probably know, is up there on Spen Lane.
Right. No, I didn't know that, but of course at the moment most of the offices are shut anyway, and most people are working from home, so I don't see that it makes a lot of difference. The only hub that's open at the moment in, well, certainly my immediate area is Armley. I'm not quite sure about the rest of West, but there's only Armley that I know of. So I don't know how you're going to put them in somewhere until places open. And as for my ward, well, my ward doesn't have a hub. We should really have one, but of course we've been left out of that. And so we're totally hubless and totally mini hubless as well. So that's another matter, but I'm not very happy about that. So I'd just like an update as to where they do go when everywhere opens, please.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
that's
we'll be happy to provide that.
Okay, Councillor Khan, please.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, and can I also take the opportunity to thank the staff, LASBAT staff, and they're doing a fantastic work at the difficult times. My question is regarding communication, and 3.19, it says customer satisfaction service being sent electronically. What's the feedback we're getting? And also, is this the only method we're using, sending electronic survey? And there will be some residents who will not be able to access IT or will not have the skills to fill in the survey.
I'll come in there. Sorry.
Well, I don't mind whether it's Claire or Harvey.
Go on, Claire. Go for it.
Oh no, sorry. Just with regards to the customer satisfaction surveys, so we are sending them out by email at the moment. There is also the option of sending them out via the mobile phone. So we're hoping with the contacts that our officers have had with the complainant with regards to the case, we're aware of their preferred method of contact, and if we identify at any stage that they're not able to use any kind of email or mobile phone, you know, their preferred method of contact, even with ourselves, is through letter, we're more than happy to do that.
Harvey, do you want to add anything?
No, that's absolutely fine. Claire's covered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cam.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just the feedback. What percentage of feedback are we getting? The survey we're sending out, please.
We have only just started that this month with regards to the electronic surveys, so we haven't got any kind of figures back yet, but I'm happy to provide you them we're doing it over the next couple of months to see how it kind of works, to see if there's an increase or a decrease, and obviously if there's a decrease we need to kind of have a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Harvey, your hands up.
Yeah, so just to add to that, because it's a new process, the question you asked earlier, we were actually relying on manual surveys. So obviously with technology, we're trying different ways. And obviously during COVID, it's been quite difficult to close a lot of the cases, because often a lot of the cases that are coming through often want the conversation and want the reassurance. So some cases, so we haven't closed that many cases to actually give you a proper figure. And as Claire said, this next month we'll probably be in a better position.
Okay,
report back.
Okay, Councillor Gabriel, do you want to formally in public express the views that you've passed to me, congratulating the staff?
I'm here. I'm coming. Sorry. Yes, I did. Sorry about that. It caught me off guard. Yes, I would like to thank all the LASBO staff that are in the meeting today for all the hard work, and for the members of staff that are very committed in dealing with people over the COVID-19 and how they're helping and reassuring the communities. So thank you all very much, and could you pass my thanks on to the staff?
Thank you.
The question I've got is the website, which is referred to in paragraph 320. Can you just explain about how that's developing? Because it's very clear that it's developing, you know, so what's happening and what difference should we see as councillors and as members of the public?
So with regards to the website, that should be in place, they're hoping, for the back end of October. So it has been, because we identified even before COVID that noise was our highest number of complaints that were coming in, we had to kind of put something in place to try and improve the customer's journey, as in, so at the moment what happens is they'll log a noise nuisance complaint online, that'll come through to our inbox, and then we kind of deal with this way. But that could be to do with not necessarily just domestic noise, it could be commercial noise. So in this website, it is like a customer's journey, so it is a decision tree. So if they've already got a case open, it advises them to contact the case officer. It makes them aware of the service standards that we have in place. If it's to do with, just for example, an ice cream van, it tells them the right team to contact. So they're not going through a number of people before they get into the right person. So, and obviously, if there's any concerns regard to any domestic violence, we give them an advice and contacting the police, because we do get a lot of complaints coming through to our team where they are reporting domestic violence to ourselves and really not being aware that they need to be contacting the police if there's an immediate risk. And you know, it's asking if there's children in the property, you know, and asking them other things that they've considered. So it's definitely something I can talk through to you once it's in place.
That's fine. And in respect of the communication, when you're getting information sent in to you, whether it be from councillors or from members of the public, do you carry out a sort of age analysis to look how long it's taking to respond to those things? And in the meantime, do you send regular communications back to the public or to elected members to acknowledge that, yes, you've still got this case in hand and that you're still working on it? Or how do you deal with keeping people in the loop?
At the moment, we've got what's our SharePoint system. So every inquiry that comes through to our team is allocated on the SharePoint system, and it automatically produces the amount of days that it's kind of been in there. So we are kind of, you know, looking at our longest ones, but also looking at the ones that are high risk. Given the current pressures, the ones that are high risk are getting the more immediate response. The ones that are identified as a lower risk, it might not be immediate response, but they are still getting our response. So they are still getting that telephone call just to make you aware, we have got your inquiry, we haven't forgotten about you, you know, is there any further updates you want to give us at this stage? So it's kind of, we're still keeping in contact with the complainant. We've identified, obviously, with regards to councillors, so we've created what we are going to have as an email inbox specifically for yourselves, so then anything kind of comes through the councillor inbox, we can then ensure that you're kept up to date with any actions that are ongoing, or if there's some kind of delay, we can make you aware there's a delay and the reason for that, and we'll be able to give you timescales around that of when a response will be provided.
Can elected members access the SharePoint database, or is that totally confidential? Because some of the information that may be in it has to be kept confidential. So I'm not suggesting it should be open to all, you know, to see absolutely everything. But is there any part way that more information could be available to elected members, or is it difficult to do so?
It's really difficult to do, so we wouldn't be able to disclose that. More than willing to arrange monthly meetings with yourselves, with the team leaders, that are the team managers, so they can kind of give you an update on where they are with the cases. That's something I know that I used to do it myself in housing, so I'm more than happy to kind of look at that going forward. And I know that some of the managers have started having regular meetings with the councillors, so they're kind of up to date, so they're aware of where their cases are.
That's right. Mr. Money?
Chair, thank you. I just think this last issue maybe touches on a broader piece of work that Councillor Cooper has asked us to look at, working in concert with our colleagues in the communities team, about how we are able to, whilst obviously undertaking the work on the ground, so to speak, the key issue of keeping members updated. And of course, members have a significant role to play, and many do, in terms of promoting the work that we're doing across a range of community safety issues. So in terms of that interface between officers, casework and members and community committees, we are working closely with our colleagues in the communities team to ensure that we pick that up as a broader piece of work, and we look to provide briefings in terms of how that's going in the most appropriate way, but in particular through maybe the community safety champion infrastructure, which I think is an opportunity that's probably underused at this moment in time. There's opportunities there as well.
That's fine, thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I've got just 2 points. So in terms of the website development, is there an opportunity while it's under development to actually put auto responses on it? Just instead of it being labour intensive and somebody having to set a reminder or remember to go in and update somebody, could that be done automatically is my thoughts. I think the technology is out there from previous life. The other thing is going back to Paul's earlier alluded sentence about the antisocial behaviour strategy, and it's been finalised, but it's been held back for a couple of different reasons. So do we actually have a new launch date for that, please, Paul? Thank you.
Yeah,
my power was going down. Paul. So, Paul, on you go. It's just I had to duck out. My power is just about to run out, so I'm just about to plug it in again.
Yeah, we've obviously shared the strategy with members. We don't have an identified launch date just yet. We were obviously looking at some of the implications that we're currently working within. What we are doing is we're developing those action plans locally from the relevant teams. But we were having a conversation earlier this week about picking this particular agenda up now, bearing in mind we're probably in a 6-month period of certainly COVID-related issues. So we're just looking at that and thinking about how we might launch the strategy, but launch it obviously differently, bearing in mind the most recent developments, shall we say, associated with some of the COVID-related implications that we'll be working with for a little while longer. So we'll look at that and provide an update in terms of the launch.
Right. Before I bring this item to a close, Mr. Rogers, do you want to make any comment about the effectiveness and how good the antisocial behaviour unit is?
Thank you, Chair. I think a lot of it's already been covered. I think the team do exceptionally good work in very difficult circumstances. There's always room for improvement, and I think that's why this review's been important. And the team will obviously stay focused to improve wherever they can. And as I think others have said, it's been a particularly challenging few months with all of the external sort of environment that we're having to work with and the issues that's creating.
That's fine, thank you. So unless anybody's got any other questions, I would like to thank the officers for giving us the update report, and also to thank the members for their contributions on this thing today. There is no doubt that the antisocial behaviour unit have responded to the scrutiny challenges that we put before you, and you are now beginning to deliver. And I would argue that the vast majority of us are now finding a service that is fit for purpose and responding to our needs, even in challenging circumstances. So thank you very much. If you wish to stay for the rest of the meeting, you can do so, but if you have other places to go, I will not take it as a personal slight if you don't remain within the meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. So we can go back now.
Thank you, Chair. I'll have to leave at this point, but thank you very much.
Thank you. If we can now go to the Waste Management Services review. Now, as far as this is concerned, again, this was a piece of work that we as a scrutiny board did carry out, and we made a large number of recommendations. The department have responded in the past, and the updates that they've given in the past are also reproduced in the report. But we now have some update reports. So what I'm proposing to do is to go through the updates that we've got before us, and I want the views of Scrutiny Board as to whether or not they are or are not happy with them. And also I need a recommendation as to whether or not you feel that the recommendation has been achieved, or whether or not it's not been fully implemented, but we know that there's an obstacle, or that it's not been fully implemented, but we are happy with the progress being made, or that it's not been implemented and we're not happy with the progress being made, or we think it should just be, marks achieved and moved on. So in terms of recommendation 1, we'll make the presumption that members have read the papers. So if anybody's got any queries, we'll go through them recommendation by recommendation, and then officers or Councillor Rafiq will then be able to come in and answer any questions. So in terms of recommendation 1, has anybody got any comments they would like to make about recommendation number 1? If not, is anybody wanting to suggest whether or not they feel that that is a 2 achieved, or 4 not fully implemented but progress made acceptable? Anybody wanting to make a suggestion on either of those 2? So I think we could probably say that it's not fully implemented but progress is made as acceptable. Is that as good as what we're going to get? Good, okay. In terms of recommendation 2, anybody get any comments they would like to make in respect of recommendation 2? Again, in that case, are we saying that we're happy with progress and to continue monitoring it? Yep. Recommendation 3. Get me over my page. Recommendation 3. Anybody any comments they would like to make on that one? Or you're happy with the explanations? So again, are we happy to say that that's what a 4, that we're happy with the progress to date? Yes? Okay. Recommendation 4. Anybody any comments on recommendation 4? Keep that as a 4 as well? Yep. Okay. Recommendation 5. Anybody get any comments they would like to make on recommendation 5? If not, we'll keep that as a 4. Recommendation 6. Anybody any comments they would like to make on recommendation 6? Dawn, Councillor Collins.
Thank you,
and then
Chair.
Councillor Smith.
It's just regarding missed bins. We had a situation in Horsforth a couple of weeks ago where a resident got very upset because their brown bin wasn't being collected. But when you actually looked into the issue, the reason the brown bin wasn't being collected was she was an elderly lady. She couldn't put it on the roadside or the curbside because she had steps to negotiate. But there didn't seem to have been the communications between our officers to that lady until I raised it, that her brown bin couldn't be emptied. So just regarding, I'm sort of tagging it under the missed bins heading, I think there needs to be some communication between the guys on the ground and their line managers. If there is a bin that they can't empty because of technical reasons, and then that needs to be followed round to the owner of the bin. So just want to hear from officers as to how do they usually manage that rather than waiting for a resident to complain to a councillor.
John, do you want to come in? Do you want to reintroduce yourself as well in case people have forgotten who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, John Woolmer again, the Acting Chief Officer for Environmental Services. Yeah, thanks for raising that, Councillor Collins, and I do remember the case well. We emailed between ourselves about it with Amy Dickinson. I think it was quite the actual case itself was quite a specific issue, more to do with the fact it was a lady that normally would put her own bins out, and as you say, incredibly so, really, considering she managed to such an age, but had reached a position where she could no longer managed to take it down the steps herself and basically wanted an assisted collection. So the crew themselves wouldn't have known that that had changed necessarily. That so used to the person themselves putting the bins out. And I agree that the way that we communicate with people sometimes is too standard and too templated, and we need to build in where possible more capacity and understanding to look at more bespoke responses to solutions. So in terms of that particular communication, I agree that we could have communicated better with the lady concerned, and it shouldn't have required yourself to be involved. And that's part of our ongoing efforts to try and improve the culture and the processes in the workplace within the service. So in terms of the work we're doing work with what we call our business support section, our back office, around the processes involved, re-looking at all the standard letters that we send and the processes behind those. Clearly, the tension is always around capacity and around the ability to deliver a more bespoke and customer-focused service against something where we've ultimately got limited resources, and that's why often we do fall back on a standard response, because we don't have the resources to manage perhaps as much as we would do on a bespoke basis. But that particular case, Councillor Collins, I'll double check where we are with that and get back to you, or Amy will. As I understand it, I think we've an issue now to do with the fact that there is so many steps. But I'll also take the broader point about being better at how we communicate with exceptional circumstances.
Okay, Councillor Collins, do you want to come back again?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks, John, for that response. Just to clarify to other councillors, the lady did tell me that she tried through the website to contact the council. It wasn't her immediate response to come to us. So I think John and I are both aware of that, and I think that's what John was alluding to. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think the team are doing an amazing job. I think the percentage increases at the start of COVID and through COVID were unprecedented, and they've done an amazing job. We're still having problems with brown bins. There seems to be almost a lack of willingness to go into many of our cul-de-sacs in our ward. I don't know how everybody else is finding that. Going back to Councillor Collins' point, the assisted collections don't seem to be following on. Now, I know when I've asked about this in the past, it's an apology and we'll put it on for the next 6 collections. But what happens on that 7th collection? Because it seems to drop off again. And I wonder if we can somehow, going back to technology again, is there any way of adding a reminder onto the in-cab technology so that it doesn't drop off, and then we can just keep it rolling, because it does cause a lot of confusion and a lot of irritation, and it's typically our most vulnerable residents who need these assisted collections, and they don't always have the means to access the technology to put it right themselves, and therefore they get us involved. And I just think that, are we missing a trick maybe where the in-cab technology could help us all? Thank you.
John?
Chair, 2 points there, I think mainly to pick up on. Thank you for the comments, and any thanks I get to, of course, I'll make sure I pass on to the manager and the crews concerned. Yes, brown bins, as well as the other 2 main waste streams, have been a huge challenge to us during COVID, and actually remain so. So, for example, the brown bins, we've collected about 50% more garden waste than we would normally do since we restarted that service. And last week it was still 30% up. So the same number of crews plus the backup usually are going out every day and still collecting 30% more than the previous 3-year rolling average, if that makes sense. So we're not just comparing to last year, we're comparing to last 3 years average. So it remains a big challenge. So I recognise the fact that we haven't always got it right during that time. But I think given the fact the challenges we've faced and the fact that we've introduced new routes across the city, to deal with some of the challenges that we had around new builds, for example. I think that the crews have done remarkably well. That said, in terms of your second point, I recognise that point you're making about assisted wheel outs, as we call them, and just to reassure you, but then obviously it'll worry you in another way. To reassure you, we do have that in-cab technology system already working. So yes, exactly. So what I'm reassuring you is the technology is there, and it puts up a little flag to say when they come across a house that's an assisted wheel out. So the technology is there. Clearly, what's not happening is it's not working. It's not being used all the time. So that's a crew development and behavioural issue that we need to pick up. Perhaps also slightly to do with the fact we're still working through the crews using the technology and they're getting used to it. That's one of the recommendations in the report and something we made a significant amount of progress on. But clearly, there's still times that's falling down, and we're aware of that and picking that up with individual crews and training where we need to improve that. And please do keep telling me as members where it's not working. As I'm sure you will. I need to know, and my managers need to know. We need to know where it's a particular issue, and we'll deal with it. And apologies where that still happens.
Councillor Smith, do you want to come back again?
I just want to say that I fully understand the frustrations, and I do agree that you've done an absolutely amazing job, and thank you. You know that the levels of waste are horrendous at the moment, to be quite honest. I don't know where it's coming from, but you know it is there, and your crews are doing an amazing job. And you know, if we can maybe tighten up a little bit, as you say, it's new technology, we need to train it through and things. You know, we're human, we're all human, we all make mistakes and we all miss things. You know, it's not about getting it wrong, it's about putting it right. So thank you all very, very much.
Okay, so that'll be a 4. Yes, 4. Good. Recommendation 7. Anybody any comments on recommendation 7? Councillor Graham.
Just going back to before,
yeah.
Obviously, all wards are not the same. Across the city, there's different issues, but they have done a fantastic job. And whenever I've had to phone, because bins are missed, John and his team are always there immediately, more or less, to collect it or the next day. But let's not forget, due to the corona, if I said COVID, whatever, lots of people are working at home, and there are more cars parked in the streets and cul-de-sacs where access has been blocked. So we've got to remember that one as well. But I agree with the recommendation, but John and his team are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, recommendation 7. Anybody got any comments? If not, a 4. Yep. Recommendation 8. Anybody any comments? Keep that as a 4. Recommendation 9. Yes, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chair. We're very fortunate in Horsforth that we do have a quite extensive brown bin collection. But with the new housing estate that's gone up and one's planned for the future, there's been some big question as to who should provide the brown bins, whether it should be the developer or whether it should be Leeds City Council. And this has caused a lot of confusion. Could we find out where we are with regarding brown bins? Will we be asking developers to provide them rather than have the city carry that expense, please?
John, do you want to clarify what's in the budget papers before exec board today about in respect of that?
Yeah, we've reviewed the position that Councillor Collins raises around, you know, there's an inconsistency of our approach across how we deal with who pays for the bins for new developments. So we're looking to close that loophole and ensure that developers of new builds pay for all bins across the waste streams when they're building a development, so that cost doesn't fall on the taxpayer. Yeah.
Councillor Collins.
John, do you know when they would be obliged to do that? there's obviously a big process regarding adoption of roads. And I know developers always like to leave things to the last minute. So have you looked at the detail behind that, or is it just a broad brushstroke at the moment?
Apologies, Councillor Collins, I don't quite understand the question. Is it around new developments or around
New developments? So if the developers are obliged to provide the brown bins going forward, do they do them as the houses are occupied and then liaise with yourselves about getting them emptied, or are they going to wait until everybody's in the houses and do it in one fell swoop?
Sorry, I understand now, sorry. Well, we have someone that works with with planning and then with the developers themselves to deal with those sort of issues. And our usual approach is, particularly with brown bins, we've still got to agree that we're going to collect them, so it's not automatic. So we still need to have that discussion and make a judgment ourselves of whether it's economically viable to provide a service in that area, because some new builds don't have any gardens, for example. So we have that discussion, and then if we agree they do need one, like we say, they will be charging them in the future for those bins. Then there's the discussion to say, well, at what point can we start collecting? And you're right that can sometimes lead to some confusion. That, as you're saying, I think what you're saying is that developments get partially built, don't they? And then people move into the first few houses while the rest of the development's being built. They think the bins should be being emptied, and that's where the confusion arises. We do liaise with the developers on that and make clear when we would start collecting. And we'd normally default to we're not going to start collecting the brown bins until the majority of the development's complete. To stop some confusion, or try to stop confusion. Either way, I think there's going to be some. But B, so we're confident all the roads have been finished and completed and safe, and we're not causing any damage. For example, there was the other week I was looking at in, I think it was the Weekwood Ward, where when I had a look at it myself, because it's not too far from where I live, I had a little look down, and the road was clearly not safe to be driving down for a car, in my view, never mind a wagon. So it's it looks like I'm fudging the answer, but I think it's what I'm saying. It's a bit of a case by case, but we do liaise with the developers around that, and don't always get that right. And again, that's about local. Again, I come back to the importance of our connection with yourselves around issues like this, and the importance of our relationship with you, and for you to help us in terms of your localised areas and where you know it's causing a problem, and we'll work with you to come to what the best solution is.
Sorry, Chair. I'm still a bit concerned that as to when you're having this conversation with developers, because what we're finding is things go to estates are given planning permission, but we don't know anything about what discussions officers have had regarding bins, any colour, any of the three colours that we've got. So, and we're more than happy to help you, but if we're not involved with the discussions, or we don't know when those discussions are going to take place, then it's difficult for us to assist. So I don't want to drag this out, but if you could just bear that in mind, it might be something you could come back to councillors on at a later date. Okay, well, what I'll do is, if it's okay through the chair, I'll get a briefing note prepared and circulate it to all scrutiny members through the chair of what the current process is. Yeah.
Yeah. So are we going to keep this one as a 4 just now? Okay. Item recommendation 10. Anybody get any comments to make on that? The officers are asking if this one could be made as an achieved. What's the view of scrutiny? Are we happy that this one's been achieved now? Officers do feel that they have gone. Councillor Smith?
Yes, Chair. Well, it can't be achieved because we haven't converted the wagons that we intended to convert. Obviously, I know that's down to cost and budget restrictions, but it can't be achieved if it hasn't been achieved. So I do think it needs to stay on until they've converted the wagons that they said they would convert, and the fleet is as up to date as possible.
John, do you want to come back? Do you want to come back and explain where you were coming from?
Yeah, and I know Terry Pycroft's on the in the meeting as well, so he may want to jump in as well. But sorry, we are on number 10, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And their recommendation, the outcome was around reducing the identified issue of vehicle breakdown, which currently hinders the waste management collection, and that was about updating the getting the fleet upgrade without delay, which in our view and Fleet's view has been achieved. So we're now up to date with our fleet replacement programme. Obviously, fleets will continue to be replaced over the next X years. They've only got a certain lifetime for a vehicle, but we're now up to date. And our belief is that, looking at the end of their reports and the failures, that the number of those that are due to vehicle breakdown, which is why the recommendation came about, because there was a higher level of this being attributed to vehicle breakdowns. We believe that that's now not an issue that's currently hindering the waste management collection. So in terms of the recommendation that we work collaboratively with the Director of Resource and Housing to advance the fleet upgrade without delay, with an update being provided, we believe that that's been achieved. I think in terms of the future upgrade of the fleet again, and then taking opportunities to upgrade and use other fuel, for example, that's obviously an ongoing business as usual type piece of work. That'll be our view, but of course, Scrutiny will have theirs.
I'll bring Councillor Rafiq in.
Thanks, Chair. Unmute myself. I think the point Councillor Collins is making is I can understand where you're coming from, Councillor Collins, but the problem is we've actually got to a point where we've replaced about half of our fleet, and we are where we are with it. We don't have any immediate budget, or given the age of the other fleet, to kind of, let's say, in the next 6 months or a year, say we're going to replace another 25% or 10% or whatever. So, although I think, as John quite correctly pointed out, the breakdown, let's say we had about a year ago, that number or percentage has actually reduced significantly. But I think there will be some, given that we still have got almost half of the fleet which are not new. There will be occasionally, some breakdowns. That's not something we could completely eradicate, I think, Chair. So we just have to, we are where we are with it as far as the renewal is concerned. But I think in the coming years or next few years, we will see those improvements as well.
Thank you. Mr. Pycroft, do you want to clarify this particular recommendation?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Just to add to that, really, what's been said is basically we've looked at the fleet, as you said. Most of the fleet's now up to date. The clean air zone yet to be kind of implemented, but vehicles are able to enter that zone now, so we're fully proficient on that. I think it was about the future standard with the financial issues at the minute. Like you said, we're just going to help holding back a little bit on the further changes to any fleet, but I think that the standard of the fleet is much higher than it's ever been at the minute. There's a few vehicles this year to be changed, 4 vehicles, and they're kind of hard to access areas. Again, that only helps the service, so we've got that planned. But we are looking for the future years now to plan ahead, trying to prepare for some possibly EV vehicles coming in, or hydrogen hybrids on Euro 6 engines. So everything's fairly high tech, but we're certainly looking to next year or the year after to start to replace any of the others. But yeah, at the moment, we're okay on the fleet front at the minute.
Okay. Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Chair. I was just looking at what the desired outcome of this recommendation was, and the desired outcome was to reduce vehicle breakdowns, which then caused the ongoing problems of missed bins, etc. So the recommendation was about looking at the fleet replacement, but the desired outcome was to reduce vehicle breakdowns. And if we've achieved that in another way, and vehicle breakdowns are not causing problems further down the track, I think we should say that that was achieved, because it's the what has been achieved rather than how it's been achieved, I think, is the key to this.
Okay. So does anybody want to come in support of the point that Councillor Smith has made, or do we go ahead and recommend it as a 2? Anybody wanting to come in? That's fine. No, I mean, I'm a Democrat, if nothing else, in terms of the approach. So yes, we'll mark this one down as a 2 as having been achieved. Okay. Now, next one is recommendation 11. Anybody get any comments they would like to make on recommendation 11? Again, the officers are asking if we would consider making this one a 2 to say that it has been achieved. Anybody get any comments on that? Or we're happy to keep it as a 2. Put it in as a 2 now. Okay, so that one will go in as a 2 now as well. Recommendation 12. Anybody any comments they would like to make on recommendation 12? Okay, we'll keep that one as a 4. Recommendation 13. Anybody get any comments on that one? Okay, if not, we'll keep that one as a 4. Recommendation 14. Keep that. Anybody any comments? Keep that as a 4. Recommendation 15. Anybody any comments? No, keep that as a 4. So, James, from the director's perspective, is there anything you're wanting to say about the waste management and refuse collection system?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think the work that Scrutiny Board have done over the last couple of years have been really helpful in terms of sort of focusing our improvement activity, and I've been really pleased with the way the team have responded and the improvements that have been made over recent months, and particularly last year. As has been said, there's a lot more to do, and the waste review is critically important to that, but clearly the circumstances that we've been working within the last 6 months have set some sort of unprecedented challenges for that particular team, and again, really pleased with how the team responded to those challenges and kept the service running. So I just want to use this opportunity to thank them for all that work, and we'll continue to do what we can to continue to improve the service.
Right. And so before I bring this matter to a conclusion, Councillor Rafiq, is there any final all-round comments that you would like to make about the service?
Thanks, Chair. Without sort of going on for too long and just completely, endorse the comments made by James, I think Scrutiny has played its part in us making the improvements and the progress we've made thus far. It has been a very difficult last 6 months, and I think I'd like to again echo the comments made by a number of members around the hard work of the staff within waste management. And we still face a number of challenges in terms of the increase in waste presentation. And I think one of the points I want to make is that despite the challenges, we've managed to implement the garden waste review quite successfully. And then also some of the other work which has come out through the recommendation. So the work goes on. We're not complacent. I think there's still a lot to be done. And thank you all for all your contributions. And no doubt we'll be here again. Okay.
Thank you. And can I just finally say, and I think Mr. Woolmer will be happy as well, because he's been beavering away for the last week, 10 days to get the report in a format so it can be presented to you and pulling together all the work. So can I thank officers and Councillor Rafiq, and we've got our agreements on the 2s and the 4s, and we look forward to in about 6 months' time to seeing a further update in terms of progress being made, and hopefully we can then sign off even more into the 2 category. So thank you all very much. Thank you. So in terms of item 9, so you've got the cover report, which is quite self-explanatory. The work schedule you will see on pages 47 onwards, which highlights that we will be looking at further information on the budget consultation in October, and also the housing activity update. And we'll also be getting a report on nitrous oxide so that we can then make a final decision as to whether or not we want to carry out an inquiry into this or not. In the meantime, we have got potentially a river cleanliness working group. We also have a working group tomorrow where we're going to look at the budget proposals that are coming to Executive Board this afternoon. There will be, if you've not had a chance to read the report, there will also be reports coming in October, November, and probably December as well to Executive Board. So what we're looking for tomorrow is your blue sky thinking. Anything you think that should be brought forward and considered by the administration to increase income, or any services that you feel there could be some cost savings. It's not up to Scrutiny to say whether or not the idea is or is not a bad idea. It's for us to come forward and think things so that we can then feed back to the Executive Board members. And so even if it's something that someone disagrees with tomorrow, so be it. We are trying to get ideas on the table to try and help the administration resolve the budget issues that they've got. As to who is responsible for the budget issues as they are, fine, that's not for us to debate, really. Our job is to look at what we can do to improve the service that we have been tasked with doing. We will leave the more general debate up to Councillor Harland and her Scrutiny Board as to the high-level issues that we've got. Tomorrow we're looking into how it affects the communities and housing areas. So that's what our responsibilities are tomorrow. In terms of pages 51 to 58, we've got the statement of volunteer response that we're hoping to put out. So is everybody happy with that? Yep. And then we've got the Executive Board minutes, which are to note, and you can raise any issues you like on that. So the next meeting is public meeting is on the 15th of October at 10:30, pre-meeting at 10 o'clock, and we have our budget working group tomorrow, Friday the 25th, 10 o'clock till 12, which is just a working group meeting. And can I also ask you to reply back to Helen Gray with the dates that you're free for the river cleanliness working group? She will collate it, then let you know as quickly as possible. Becky, is there anything I have forgotten?
There isn't. That covers it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So in that case, can I thank you all for your attendance today, and can I also thank Councillor Reagan for giving up her time to come in as a substitute today for Councillor Gruen. Much appreciated. So thank you all very much, and we'll see some of or all of you tomorrow. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.